There was a Union man, William Wallace, and no, I'm not making that up, who was a general in the Battle of Shiloh. And while his story does end with a ghost, that's not the main focus of this tale, my little strangelings. Welcome to the first real tale of what it is to be sound paranormal, and not just sound ghosts. As the Civil War broke out, William Wallace married his sweetheart Anne, and immediately departed for the war effort with the Illinois Army, leaving Anne in Illinois with a dreadful gut feeling. One that only grew with her love and the heartache of missing her husband. Anne grew restless, and her husband was bound for Shiloh, and finally she couldn't take it anymore. She left Illinois bound for the front lines herself and insisting, come hell or high water, she would get there. She traveled relentlessly and feared the Confederacy far less than she did the men of the Union Army who would stop her. Eventually, she came up against some of the Union, and they would not let her pass. But lucky for Anne, she ran into a delegation from Illinois who was intent on bringing the Illinois Army a new battle flag, as their old one had faded, tattered, and was barely of service anymore. She convinced them to let her bear the flag to her husband's army, and finding that she was General Wallace's young wife, they readily agreed and she was granted passage. Anne Wallace reached the Pittsburgh Landing on the second day of the Battle for Shiloh and was met with the news that her husband had gone missing in action the day before. But somehow, some way, Anne held out the desperate hope and just knew that he would be found, and he was, although he was gravely injured. His body was borne to Pittsburgh Landing, where he and his wife were reunited, but this story does not have a happy ending, my little strangelings. General Wallace and his wife were put onto the next boat and were borne down the Tennessee River to Savannah, Tennessee. The general was taken to Cherry Mansion, a historic antebellum mansion that still stands today, and at the time was being utilized by the Union as a base of operations. He was taken to a room upstairs and tended by his wife and doctors, and the doctors said his prognosis was good and that the general would live. But in the end, his head injury proved to be too much, and in one of her journals, Anne described her husband's fading and eventual passing as a slowly dying fire, the spark and embers finally having gone out. Still, she was there, and with her love, and that was what had mattered to her. Somehow, General Wallace's wife's psychic premonition of dread had come to pass, but her love was such that she braved miles and miles of travel and dangers to be by his side at the end. As for General Wallace, it is said that sometimes when you are outside Cherry Mansion and you look up to its second floor, the pale bearded face of a man in a dark coat can be seen peering sadly from one of the second floor windows. It is believed that this is General Wallace himself, trapped here for eternity, depressed for having to leave his beloved Anne when they had only just been reunited. Trust me, my little strangelings. On my next return trip to Shiloh, I plan on making Cherry Mansion a part of my travels to see if I can find any more on this. For now, this has been a tale of the paranormal with a fitting and ghostly end about enduring love, a wife who just knew, and how she would go to the ends of the earth for her husband, which of course appeals greatly to my soft and romantic heart. Until next time.